Opinion Modiplomacy. India's global Ascent Prime Minister Narendra Modi's three-nation tour to Cyprus, Canada for the G7 summit, and Croatia, in June 2025, has been widely regarded as a diplomatic triumph, reinforcing India's growing stature on the global stage. This tour, his first foreign visit following Operation Sindoor, was strategically designed to strengthen bilateral ties, enhance India's role in global governance and project its civilizational and economic influence. The success of PM Modi's said tour can be attributed to several strategic, diplomatic and symbolic achievements, each tailored to the unique context of the visited nations and the G7 summit. The tour was marked by a blend of bilateral engagements, multilateral discussions, and soft power projection, aligning with India's broader foreign policy objectives. Modi's visit to Cyprus, for instance, was the first by an Indian Prime Minister in over 2 decades. This alone marks a significant milestone in India-Cyprus relations. During the visit, Modi was conferred the Grand Cross of the Order of Macarius III, Cyprus' highest civilian honor, by President Nikos Christodoulides, symbolizing mutual respect and deepening ties. Cyprus' location in the Mediterranean makes it a critical node for India's India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor (IMEC), a counter to China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI). Modi's discussions with Christodoulides focused on enhancing cooperation in trade, investment, security, and technology, reinforcing India's commitment to both the Mediterranean region and the European Union. The visit was also a subtle diplomatic signal to Turkey, which has occupied northern Cyprus since 1974 and supported Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. By strengthening ties with Cyprus, India underscored its stance against territorial disputes and cross-border tensions, aligning with its anti-terrorism agenda. Modi addressed the Indian diaspora in Limassol, highlighting their role in fostering cultural and economic ties. He also gifted a silver-coated purse crafted by Andhra Pradesh artisans to Cyprus' First Lady, showcasing India's civilizational richness. The visit reaffirmed India's strategic pivot toward the Mediterranean, secured Cyprus' support for India's global initiatives and laid the groundwork for deeper economic collaboration, making it a diplomatic success. Resetting ties with Canada and amplifying Global South's voice at the G7 summit, marked PM Modi's attendance at the 51st G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta, also making this his 6th consecutive participation, underscoring India's growing influence in global governance. As one of the 5 special invitees, Modi championed the priorities of the Global South, focusing on inclusive tech frameworks, equitable climate financing and energy security. On the sidelines, Modi held productive talks with leaders including Canadian PM Mark Carney, French President Emmanuel Macron, UK PM Keir Starmer, Italian PM Giorgia Meloni, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and Australian PM Anthony Albanese. These discussions covered trade, technology, and strategic cooperation, enhancing India's global partnerships. Modi's meeting with Carney resulted in an agreement to appoint new high commissioners, signaling a commitment to restore diplomatic services. This move is seen as a step toward resetting ties based on mutual respect and shared interests. Modi's warm reception by the 1.5 million-strong Indo-Canadian community in Calgary and Brampton highlighted their role in bridging cultural and economic ties. Their enthusiasm reinforced the clout of PM Modi's soft power in Canada. The G7 participation elevated India's global profile, while the diplomatic reset with Canada and robust bilateral engagements marked significant successes, positioning India as a key player in addressing global challenges. Modi's visit to Croatia on June 18, 2025, was the first by an Indian Prime Minister since Croatia's independence in 1991. This historic trip opened new avenues for bilateral cooperation, with Modi holding talks with President Zoran Milanovic and PM Andrej Plenković. Croatia, an EU member, is strategically positioned in the Balkans, aligning with India's IMEC ambitions. Discussions focused on trade, investment, and technology, reinforcing India's commitment to deeper engagement with the European Union. Modi emphasized India's civilizational links with Croatia, promoting people-to-people exchanges. The visit marked a new chapter in India-Croatia relations, enhanced India's presence in Eastern Europe and strengthened its EU partnerships, contributing to the tour's overall success. Across all three nations, Modi reiterated India's firm stance against cross-border terrorism, thanking partner countries for their support following Operation Sindoor. This messaging resonated globally, reinforcing India's leadership in the fight against terrorism. The tour's timing, post-Operation Sindoor, amplified its significance, as Modi projected India as a decisive power in countering terror threats. Unlike high-drama summits, PM Modi's tour was characterized by a quiet confidence, focusing on substantive outcomes over populist gestures. This approach underscored India's progress from a balancing power to a shaping power in global affairs that now shapes, molds, positions and advocates. The tour's itinerary: Cyprus, Canada, Croatia was strategically curated to address diverse geopolitical priorities: Mediterranean cooperation, G7 influence, and EU Balkans engagement. Modi's presence at the G7 summit was hailed as a reflection of India's global leadership, with Canadian PM Carney acknowledging India's role in shaping global agendas. Since assuming office in 2014, PM Modi has transformed India's foreign policy into a dynamic, proactive, and multi-alignment framework, balancing strategic autonomy with global engagement. His tenure has seen India emerge as a major global player, with notable successes across bilateral, multilateral, and regional domains. Modi's Act East policy, an upgrade of the Look East policy, has deepened India's engagement with ASEAN nations. Strategic partnerships with countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, and Singapore have enhanced India's influence in Southeast Asia. Modi has been instrumental in revitalizing the quadrilateral security dialogue Quad with the US, Japan, and Australia, positioning India as a key player in the Indo-Pacific to counter China's assertiveness. Quad summits have focused on maritime security, vaccine diplomacy, and technology cooperation. India's strategic presence in the Indo-Pacific has grown, with initiatives like the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative (IPOI) reinforcing its commitment to a free and open region. Again, Modi's Neighborhood First policy has prioritized ties with South Asian neighbors like Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. Initiatives like the BBI and Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal Framework, and Development Aid Maldives infrastructure projects have strengthened regional connectivity. By offering alternative development models, India has countered China's Belt and Road Initiative in the region, notably in Sri Lanka and Maldives. Modi has positioned India as a champion of developing nations, advocating for their priorities at forums like the G7, G20, and UN. The Voice of the Global South Summit 2023 and India's G20 Presidency 2023 amplified issues like climate finance, digital inclusion, and food security. Modi's visits to African nations and initiatives like the India-Africa Forum Summit have deepened ties, with India offering lines of credit and capacity-building programs. India's leadership has resonated with the Global South, enhancing its soft power and moral authority. Also, PM Modi has elevated India-US ties to a comprehensive global strategic partnership, with cooperation in defense, MQ-9B drone deals, technology, ICET, and space, NASA-ISRO collaboration. His rapport with Presidents Obama, Trump, and Biden has been a key driver. Despite Western sanctions, Modi has maintained strong ties with Russia, ensuring energy security through discounted oil imports and defense cooperation S-400 systems. His visits to Russia 2024 SCO Summit underscore strategic autonomy. Partnerships with the EU, France, Germany, and Japan have grown, with agreements in green energy, defense, and technology. Modi's personal diplomacy with leaders like Macron and in the past with the late Shinzo Abe has been pivotal. India's multi-alignment strategy has allowed it to balance relations with competing powers, maximizing strategic and economic benefits. Modi's advocacy for a global framework against terrorism has gained traction, with initiatives like the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism at the UN. His condemnation of cross-border terrorism post-URI and Pulwama attacks has resonated internationally. The 2025 operation targeting terror infrastructure in Pakistan showcased India's resolve, with Modi securing support from partner nations during the Cyprus-Canada-Croatia tour. India's anti-terrorism stance has strengthened its global security credentials. Modi's Make in India and Digital India campaigns have attracted significant foreign investment, with India becoming a top FDI destination. Trade agreements with UAE, Australia, and ongoing FTA talks with the EU and UK reflect economic outreach. Also, PM Modi's engagement with the Indian diaspora US, UAE, Canada has boosted remittances, investments, and cultural ties, enhancing India's global influence. India's economic diplomacy has positioned it as a global growth engine, with a projected $5 trillion economy, very soon, after India already becoming the world's fourth largest economy this year by overtaking Japan. Modi's leadership in launching the International Solar Alliance ISA and Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure CDRI has positioned India as a climate leader. Commitments to net zero by 2070 and renewable energy targets have earned global praise. India's digital infrastructure UPI, Aadhaar, and tech exports have made it a leader in digital innovation. Modi's push for inclusive AI governance at G7 and G20 forums has been influential. India's leadership in sustainable and digital technologies has enhanced its global stature. Swipe left for next video. Modi's emphasis on India's civilizational heritage through initiatives like International Yoga Day, Buddhist circuit tourism and diaspora events has projected soft power. India's cultural influence has strengthened its global brand, fostering goodwill and tourism. Modi's broader foreign policy has transformed India into a shaping power, with successes in Indo-Pacific engagement, Global South advocacy, strategic partnerships, counter-terrorism, economic diplomacy, and climate leadership. By blending pragmatism with civilizational vision, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has elevated India's global stature, making it a pivotal player in a multipolar world. The June 2025 Three-Nation June Tour exemplifies Modiplomacy, cementing India's role as a trusted partner and influential voice in international affairs. Sanju Verma is an economist, national spokesperson for BJP and best-selling author of The Modi Gambit. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the author. They do not necessarily reflect NEWS18's views. Latest blogs.